The planet Scytheria glowed like a jewel against the dark canvas of space. Towering crystal spires reflected the light of twin suns, casting a kaleidoscope of colors across the city below. From her throne in the central palace, Queen Lysra observed her people, a mixture of awe and melancholy in her expression. Though she ruled with wisdom and grace, she carried a secret sadness. Years ago, a tragic accident had stolen her sight, leaving her to navigate her world through senses far beyond vision. Her court moved around her silently, careful not to disturb her thoughts. Advisors whispered strategies, generals prepared defenses, and diplomats debated trade agreements. Yet Lysara's mind drifted to a memory long buried, one human who had risked everything to save her during a time of chaos. His face was hazy in her mind, his voice a faint echo. She could not see him now, could not reach out to touch the memory without the sting of longing. Far across the galaxy, Captain Elias piloted his ship, the Starseeker, through a dense asteroid field. Space debris rattled against the hull, and warning lights flashed across the control panel. Elias tightened his grip on the controls, his mind focused but restless. Years had passed since he had last seen Queen Lysara, yet the memory of that day haunted him as vividly as ever. He remembered the battle that had changed everything. Scytheria had been under attack by a faction of warlords seeking the planet's advanced technology. Humans had arrived only by accident, drawn into a conflict they barely understood, and yet when Lysara had been caught in the line of fire, Elias had made a choice that no one else had dared to make. He had risked his ship, his crew, and his own life to save the alien queen. The memory brought both pride and a quiet ache. He had left too soon, and he had wondered every day if he had done enough. Now, years later, a message had reached him, urgent, cryptic, and impossible to ignore. A rogue warship threatened Scytheria, moving fast through the outer rim. The Council had called on him again, reminding him that some debts are never forgotten. Elias adjusted the course, plotting a path that would take him through the most dangerous sectors. His heart pounded with anticipation and fear. He had changed over the years, but the call of duty, and the memory of Lysara, pulled him forward. Back on Scytheria, Queen Lysara sensed a shift in the air. Her court was tense, the usual rhythm of palace life disrupted. Rumors had spread of the approaching warship, and whispers of danger reached even the most secluded chambers. Lysara could not see the threat, but her other senses, an intricate blend of alien perception, warned her that something was coming. She walked through the grand hall with careful steps, her hand trailing along the smooth surface of the crystalline walls. The palace felt alive, each sound and vibration telling a story she could almost understand. She paused at a balcony overlooking the central square. Citizens moved about their day, unaware of the danger approaching from the stars. A memory flickered, a human figure, bold and unwavering, standing between her and destruction. She could feel his presence, almost as if time itself had preserved it. Her chest tightened with the longing to see him again, to feel the reassurance of his courage firsthand. Meanwhile, Elias navigated through the asteroid field, dodging massive rocks that threatened to tear his ship apart. His ship's shields flared with energy every time a smaller fragment struck, leaving scorch marks across the hull. He relied on instinct as much as instruments, trusting that his years of experience would guide him. Even in the face of danger, he could not stop thinking about the Queen. He remembered her calm voice in the chaos, her intelligence and strength shining even when surrounded by violence. Almost there, he muttered to himself, checking the trajectory again. The sensors indicated the outer defenses of Scytheria, and he knew the real challenge had only just begun. The rogue warship was not just any enemy. It was smart, heavily armed, and relentless. But Elias had learned one truth during his years of exploration. Courage and determination can turn the tide, even when the odds seem impossible. Back in the palace, Lysara's advisors grew restless. "Your Majesty," one said carefully, bowing low, "we must prepare for the worst. The reports indicate an approaching warship capable of breaking through our defenses. Perhaps it is time to consider evacuation or surrender." Lysara's head lifted slightly, and though her eyes could not see, her voice carried authority. "No, we do not surrender. Scytheria has stood for centuries, and it will stand for centuries more. Prepare the defenses, but know this: we will not cower in fear." The advisor nodded, though doubt lingered in his expression. The queen's confidence was unmatched, yet some feared her blindness might hinder her judgment. But Lysara relied on more than sight. She relied on memory, intuition, and the guidance of those who had proven themselves trustworthy. And deep inside, a quiet certainty told her that help was on the way. Elias's journey continued, each obstacle testing his resolve. A rogue group of space mercenaries ambushed him near a nebula, firing plasma shots that scorched the Starseeker's shields. He maneuvered skillfully, weaving through the glowing clouds of gas using their own confusion against them. His mind remained focused on the Queen, on the promise he had made, whether spoken or silent. He would not fail again. As the distance to Cytheria closed, Lysara moved to the palace garden, a place she often visited to clear her mind. The scent of alien flowers filled the air and she breathed deeply, grounding herself. A sense of anticipation stirred within her. Something was coming, something familiar yet impossible to name. She closed her eyes and allowed herself to feel the memory of the human who had once risked everything for her. His courage, his determination, and his kindness were etched into her being. Suddenly, a soft vibration ran through the palace floor, an unusual rhythm that drew her attention. Her other senses detected a shift in the atmosphere, a presence approaching rapidly. Could it be him? The thought flitted through her mind and brought an unexpected warmth to her chest. She could not know for certain, but hope, a dangerous and exhilarating hope, took root. Elias, too, felt the tension increase. Cytheria's energy signature grew stronger on his sensors, signaling that he had finally arrived. The rogue warship was closing in fast and the city below was vulnerable. He adjusted his trajectory, preparing for the careful descent into the planet's atmosphere. His heart raced not from fear alone, but from the thought of seeing Lysara once more. The human and the alien had shared a bond that transcended words, and he carried it with him like a shield against despair. As the twin suns of Cytheria shone brighter, Elias's ship cut through the last layer of clouds. The palace emerged in full view, crystalline spires glinting in the sunlight. His hands tightened on the controls, every sense alert. He remembered the first time he had seen her, the day he had chosen to risk his life. That memory propelled him forward, reminding him why he could never turn back. Inside the palace, Lysara felt the vibrations intensify. The memory of Elias, faint and almost dreamlike, merged with the present moment. She could sense something extraordinary approaching. Her heart, long accustomed to solitude and careful control, skipped a beat. She allowed herself a fleeting thought. Maybe, just maybe, the human who had risked it all for her was returning. In the skies above Cytheria, the first confrontation was imminent. Elias prepared for what lay ahead, knowing that danger awaited. But his courage was unshakable, fueled by loyalty and the memory of a bond forged in the fire of past battles. Somewhere within the palace, Lysara stood ready, her mind sharp, her senses alert, and her heart quietly remembering a human who had changed everything. The galaxy held its breath, the story of courage, loyalty, and unspoken promises poised to unfold once more. The Starseeker glided silently through the dark stretches of space, its hull gleaming faintly under the distant light of twin stars. Captain Elias tightened his grip on the control console, eyes scanning the holographic display. Ahead lay the outer rim sectors, dangerous territories known for asteroid fields, black holes, and rogue mercenaries who attacked without warning. Elias knew every challenge ahead would test his skills and patience. Yet beneath the calculations and star charts, one thought persisted. The Queen, Lysara, the human who had risked everything to save an alien ruler in a galaxy filled with danger and uncertainty. That memory had shaped him, haunted him, and now propelled him forward. As he approached a dense asteroid field, sensors detected motion in the distance. Small metallic shapes danced unpredictably among the rocks. "Mercenaries," Elias muttered, his voice calm but firm. The Starseeker maneuvered with precision, weaving through the debris while maintaining a trajectory toward Cytheria. His fingers moved quickly, almost instinctively, adjusting shields, thrusters, and weapons. The mercenaries' attacks were relentless. Plasma bolts streaked through the darkness, leaving fiery trails behind. Elias fired back, targeting propulsion systems to slow their ships down rather than destroy them completely. He had learned long ago that unnecessary destruction often created more enemies than allies. Despite the danger, a part of him felt alive in a way that only true risk could inspire. Far below, on Cytheria, Queen Lysara moved through the palace corridors. Her advisors had arranged for heightened security, but she walked with a quiet confidence, relying on senses honed through years without sight. Each step echoed softly, alerting her to the movement of guards, aides, and couriers. She paused, placing her hands gently on the crystalline wall. Vibrations ran through the surface, faint but clear enough to indicate approaching movement from the main gates. The queen's mind wandered briefly to the human who had once saved her. She remembered the precise moment when he had shielded her from destruction, placing himself in danger without hesitation. Even now she could feel the courage radiating from the memory, almost as if he were beside her. The thought gave her strength, a quiet reassurance that someone out there cared enough to act, even across the vast expanse of space. Elias continued to navigate through the asteroid field, his ship skimming dangerously close to massive rocks. A sudden explosion rocked the Starseeker, sending a shudder through the frame. Sensors indicated minor hull damage, but the ship remained functional. Elias allowed himself a brief moment to assess the situation. "Nothing I can't handle," he said under his breath, though the tension in his jaw betrayed his focus. Outside the asteroid field, the rogue warship moved with deliberate speed towards Cytheria. Its weapon systems were advanced, capable of massive destruction, and it carried mercenaries trained to board and conquer. Elias knew that reaching the planet would not be enough. He would have to face both strategy and brute force. He adjusted the ship's course, preparing for a controlled descent through the atmosphere. Back in the palace, Lysara sensed the approaching storm. Her guards reported increased activity on the outskirts of the city, ships detected in the upper atmosphere. But she paid them little heed. She relied on intuition, a skill sharpened by years of adapting to life without sight. Still, her mind lingered on a faint hope, one she could not name. She felt a presence, familiar yet distant, as if someone important was drawing near. Could it be him? Elias's ship pierced the outer layers of Cytheria's atmosphere, the thrusters burning bright against the sky. He maneuvered carefully, avoiding collisions with floating debris and maintaining stealth to avoid immediate detection by the rogue warship. He remembered the first time he had entered Cytheria's atmosphere, during a battle that had tested every ounce of his courage. The memory of Lysara, trusting him completely in the face of danger, gave him clarity and resolve. The palace garden shimmered in the sunlight as Lysara walked through it, her hands brushing against the crystalline leaves of alien flora. She could feel subtle vibrations in the soil, hear the faint hum of energy flowing through the palace's structure. The garden had always been a place of solace, a connection to life and beauty even in her blindness. Today it also held a sense of anticipation, a whisper of the extraordinary about to unfold. Elias guided the Starseeker toward the palace's landing platform. Sensors indicated that automated defenses were active, ready to respond to any unauthorized approach. The rogue warship hovered nearby, a dark silhouette against the bright sky. Elias's heart beat faster. Every calculation, every maneuver was critical. One wrong move could end not only his mission, but also the safety of Cytheria itself. As the ship touched down gently, Lysara sensed an unfamiliar vibration on the platform. Her hand lifted instinctively, reaching toward the source. Her mind recognized something extraordinary, though she could not see it. The vibrations carried a rhythm that felt alive, confident, and familiar. Her heart stirred, memories of a human who had once risked his life for her flooding her consciousness. The palace guards approached cautiously, weapons ready. Elias moved quickly, communicating through his ship's interface to signal his peaceful intent. The guards hesitated, unsure if this was a new threat or something else. Elias stepped from the ship, helmet in hand, revealing his face for the first time in years to those who might not remember him. His eyes scanned the area not just for danger but for the queen. Inside, Lysara turned toward the vibration, feeling the unmistakable energy signature of a human presence. Could it be? Her heart raced. She took careful steps toward the main hall, her mind replaying every memory of the human who had saved her. The courage, the selflessness, the unwavering dedication, it all surged through her like a living force. Elias moved through the palace gates, aware that each step brought him closer to danger. The rogue warship had not yet attacked, but time was short. He had come not for glory or recognition, but for loyalty and duty. The bond forged years ago in fire and chaos had not faded. It guided him now, steady and unshakable. Lysara paused at the threshold of the central hall, her senses alert to every detail. Vibrations, echoes, and energy flows told her that something or someone was near. Her mind raced through memories, matching the patterns, the presence, the feeling, and finally recognizing the unmistakable essence of Elias. Her chest tightened with a mix of relief and wonder. After years of absence, he was here again. Elias stepped into the hall, scanning the space, heart pounding in anticipation. And then in that moment, their senses connected. Lysara's heightened perception recognized the energy and aura she had once known. Elias's eyes, trained by years of experience, found hers even in a room where she could not see. The unspoken understanding passed between them, a silent acknowledgement of past sacrifices, shared risks, and enduring trust. Outside, the rogue warship moved closer, preparing to strike. But inside, in the palace's central hall, the reunion had begun. The queen who had lost her sight and the human who had risked everything for her were finally near. Memory and reality merged, and hope ignited a spark that neither time nor danger could extinguish. Elias knew the battle ahead would be dangerous, perhaps even deadly, but he also knew that together he and Lysara could face it. The connection they shared was more than strategy or skill. It was trust, loyalty, and the proof that courage could transcend species, distance, and even time itself. Lysara stood tall, feeling the presence of Elias as though he were right beside her, even without sight. She allowed herself a moment of gratitude, for fate, for courage, and for the enduring bond that had drawn him back to her. Outside, the world prepared for conflict, but within the palace, two allies, two friends were reunited, ready to face whatever came next. The galaxy's story continued, danger looming, but the journey back had begun, and with it the rekindling of trust, courage, and hope. The grand hall of the Zetharian palace shimmered with crystalline lights, reflecting the golden hues of the twin suns outside. Queen Lysara stood near the throne, her senses alert, her heart pounding with anticipation. She could feel the vibrations of the hall, the subtle movements of the guards, and, most importantly, the presence of someone familiar, a human whose energy she remembered even after all these years. Captain Elias stepped into the hall cautiously, scanning the surroundings. Every sense he possessed was on high alert. The rogue warship still lurked near the atmosphere, and he knew time was short. Yet the moment he felt the unmistakable aura of Lysara, a strange calm washed over him. Years of worry, regret, and longing had led to this precise instant. He removed his helmet, revealing his face, allowing the queen to sense him more clearly. Lysara raised her hand instinctively. "Elias?" Her voice trembled, a mix of awe, relief, and emotion she had not allowed herself to feel for a long time. She could not see him, yet the vibrations, the rhythm of his breathing, and the energy emanating from him confirmed his identity. Her memories flooded back, the day he had shielded her from destruction, the courage that had saved her life, and the bond that had quietly grown between them. Elias stepped closer, careful to maintain a safe distance, yet wanting to close the gap that time and space had forced between them. "Your Majesty," he said softly, "I promised I would return if you were ever in danger. I never meant to leave you behind." Tears welled in Lysara's eyes, blurring her inner vision even though she could not see. You kept your promise," she whispered. Her mind replayed every detail of the past, the chaos, the fear, the moment when his courage had saved her. Now, standing before him, she felt the weight of years lifted slightly, replaced with hope and determination. But there was no time for lingering emotions. Sensors from the palace indicated the rogue warship was preparing to launch its attack. Automated defenses hummed to life, and guards readied their weapons. Lysara took a deep breath, centering herself. Blindness had forced her to rely on senses others did not possess, and now those senses would guide her through the coming storm. Elias moved to her side, his hand brushing hers in a gesture of reassurance. "We need to get you somewhere safe," he said, scanning the hall for strategic options. "They won't wait for introductions." Lysara nodded, her heightened perception already mapping the surroundings. "We move together," she said firmly. "I may not see, but I feel the flow of the palace. Trust me, Elias, as I trust you." The first warning siren sounded as the rogue warship released a squadron of attack drones into the atmosphere. The palace shields flickered under the sudden energy surge, and the air was filled with the metallic hum of incoming machines. Elias moved quickly, guiding Lysara toward a central defensive chamber equipped with tactical consoles and energy barriers. As they moved, the vibrations beneath Lysara's feet conveyed everything the human eyes could not. She sensed the movement of the drones, the rushing steps of the guards, and the tension in Elias's body. Each step brought her closer to him, closer to the memory that had always sustained her during lonely nights. Once inside the chamber, Elias activated the tactical interface. Holographic projections of the palace and surrounding skies appeared, showing the incoming attack vectors. He studied the data carefully, calculating interception points and defense strategies. Lysara, despite her blindness, leaned forward, placing her hands on the consoles. Her fingers traced the contours of the holograms, feeling energy flows, shield currents, and weak points. "You've grown stronger," Elias said softly, watching her work. "Even without sight, your perception. It's incredible." Lysara allowed herself a faint smile. "Strength comes from necessity," she replied, "and from knowing who will stand with you when the world is against you." Her words reminded Elias of why he had returned, because he had always believed in her courage, even when the universe seemed impossible. The drones moved closer, buzzing like metallic hornets. Automated defenses began targeting them, but the rogue warship's technology was advanced, capable of evading most standard weaponry. Elias took control of a turret, firing carefully to intercept incoming drones while Lysara monitored energy fluctuations, giving him directions based on subtle shifts in the shields and projections. Despite the tension, a quiet understanding passed between them. Every movement, every decision was synchronized by years of trust. They did not need to speak constantly. The bond formed in life-and-death moments guided their actions. Lysara's intuition complemented Elias's tactical skill, creating a rhythm that neither enemy nor circumstance could easily disrupt. The rogue warship, recognizing its drones were being neutralized, initiated a direct attack. Energy beams streaked toward the palace, causing small tremors throughout the structure. Guards shouted warnings and alarms rang across the halls. Lysara's hand instinctively reached for the emergency shield controls, feeling the energy patterns with astonishing clarity. She directed the defense grids with precision, strengthening areas under heavy fire. Elias fired strategically, using the Queen's guidance to target weak points in the warship's drone deployment system. Each success brought a small but meaningful victory, pushing back the tide of the attack. The palace, once threatened with destruction, held firm under their combined efforts. Amid the chaos, Lysara sensed something deeper. She felt Elias's presence not just as an ally, but as someone who had risked everything for her before and was doing so again now. Her memory surged, showing the moments when he had shielded her, spoken to her calmly in fear, and acted with unwavering courage. She realized that this bond, forged in extreme circumstances, was more powerful than any weapon. The rogue warship's captain, frustrated by the failures of drones and shields, decided to escalate. A landing party of mercenaries prepared to board the palace. Sensors detected their approach and the chamber filled with urgency. Elias and Lysara exchanged a brief glance, or rather a shared understanding. Words were unnecessary. Action was required. Elias moved to the main entryway, preparing to confront the intruders. Lysara followed closely, relying on her heightened senses to detect their positions. Her intuition guided him, pointing out hidden threats, and together they became a formidable team. Every step, every defensive maneuver reflected the trust that had developed years ago. The first wave of mercenaries entered. Elias engaged them with precision, deflecting attacks and incapacitating opponents without unnecessary force. Lysara, using her senses, anticipated movements, helping Elias avoid potential traps. The duo moved as one, each complementing the other's skills. The human ingenuity and alien intuition merged into a force neither enemy nor circumstance could easily overcome. Despite the danger, a moment of clarity passed between them. Lysara's heart, long burdened by memory and longing, found solace in Elias's presence. Elias, who had traveled light years to protect her, felt a sense of fulfillment and purpose he had never known before. It was more than strategy or survival. It was the reaffirmation of a bond that transcended species, distance, and time. The battle continued, but their combined efforts slowed the rogue faction's advance. The palace's defenses, guided by Lysara and implemented by Elias, held strong. Every energy pulse, every movement, reinforced the undeniable truth. Courage, trust, and loyalty could achieve what brute force alone could not. Finally, after what felt like hours but was only moments, the first wave of attackers was repelled. The hall was scarred, shields flickered, and guards were exhausted, yet the palace remained standing. Lysara took a moment to steady herself, her fingers brushing over the consoles, feeling the residual vibrations. Elias stood beside her, breathing heavily but alert, ready for the next challenge. In the silence that followed, Lysara whispered, "You came back? I knew you would." Elias nodded, eyes scanning the hall, but his attention never left her. "I promised," he replied simply, "and I will keep that promise no matter what comes." For the first time in years, Lysara allowed herself to feel the full weight of relief, hope, and connection. She could not see with her eyes, but she saw with everything else: the courage of the human before her, the resilience of her people, and the unbreakable bond that had brought them together once more. Outside, the rogue warship prepared for its next move, but inside the palace, Elias and Lysara had reunited. Their partnership, strengthened by shared history and mutual respect, had turned the tide of the first attack. And though the danger was far from over, they now faced it as one, ready to defend their home, their people, and the bond that had been forged in sacrifice and courage. The galaxy waited, unaware of the quiet heroism unfolding within the palace walls. But in that moment, the human and the queen knew one truth above all: together they were unstoppable. The palace of Zytheria trembled under the roar of distant engines. Outside, the rogue warship had positioned itself to strike again, more determined than before. Its drones and mercenaries were regrouping, preparing a coordinated assault on the heart of the palace. Inside, Queen Lysara and Captain Elias stood side by side, ready to meet the challenge together. Lysara's senses were sharpened beyond any ordinary perception. She could feel the vibrations of approaching forces through the crystalline floors, hear the faintest shifts in energy, and even detect subtle changes in air pressure. Each alert, each tremor was a guide. She closed her eyes and concentrated, letting her intuition become her eyes. Elias moved with practiced precision, positioning himself near the defensive turrets. "They're coming from the north and east wings," he reported, voice calm but urgent. "We need to hold them until reinforcements arrive, or the palace could fall." Lysara's hand hovered over the energy controls. "I can guide you," she said. "Trust me. I can sense where they will strike before they even reach the hallways." Elias nodded. "I do trust you. Always have." The first wave of attackers stormed the palace corridors. Metallic feet clanged against the floors and blaster bolts streaked through the hallways. Guards fired defensively, but many retreated in confusion as the intruders advanced. Elias moved quickly, using his agility and training to intercept them, dodging blasts and incapacitating foes with precise strikes. Lysara directed the defense systems, her hands moving over the holographic interface. She felt the energy currents of each incoming attack, guiding turrets and shields to intercept drones and block corridors. Every decision was instinctive yet perfect. She called out directions to Elias with clarity and calm. "Left flank, 3 o'clock," she shouted, sensing a mercenary squad approaching from the eastern corridor. Elias responded instantly, rushing to intercept them. His movements flowed naturally, as if they were in perfect synchronization with Lysara's senses. Each action reinforced their bond, a combination of human courage and alien intuition. The rogue warship's drones tried to breach the palace shields, firing concentrated energy beams. Lysara directed power from the palace's energy cores to reinforce vulnerable points, while Elias targeted the operators controlling the drones. The synergy between them was seamless, blending strategy, courage, and trust. As the battle raged, Lysara's mind flickered to memories of the first time Elias had saved her. He had stood between her and danger without hesitation, risking everything for someone he barely knew. That courage had left an impression on her that had not faded. Now, standing side by side with him, she felt that same strength, amplified by years of experience and shared adversity. The mercenaries advanced with renewed determination, breaking through the first line of defenses. Elias met them head-on, using calculated strikes to slow their progress. Lysara sensed their movements before they even reached the hallways, directing guards to intercept and channeling energy barriers to block their path. "North corridor," Lysara called out. "3 more coming." "Turrets ready!" Elias adjusted his position, taking the high ground to maximize his advantage. With precision, he neutralized the threats, moving like a shadow through the chaos. Every action was guided by trust. The trust that Lysara would sense danger before it struck, and that he would act to protect her and the palace. Despite the overwhelming numbers, the palace defenders rallied under their leadership. Guards moved with purpose, guided by Lysara's instincts and Elias's tactical decisions. Each success bolstered morale, giving hope that the palace could withstand the attack. In the center of the hall, Lysara felt a surge of energy, a direct assault on the palace's core defenses. The rogue warship had launched a specialized drone, designed to penetrate the strongest barriers. She acted instinctively, redirecting energy to the shield grids and calling out instructions to Elias. "Elias, turrets, focus on the core. I'll hold the shields here," he responded instantly, targeting the specialized drone with careful precision. Energy blast collided, shaking the chamber, but together they managed to hold it back. The bond of trust between human and queen was their greatest weapon, proving that courage and coordination could overcome even advanced technology. Amid the chaos, a moment of quiet connection passed between them. Lysara reached out, her hand brushing Elias's arm, not out of need but as a silent acknowledgement. He returned the gesture, a wordless promise that they were in this together. That trust, forged through danger and sacrifice, was stronger than any weapon, any strategy, or any enemy. The rogue warship, realizing its drones were being neutralized, sent a direct boarding party to the palace. Heavy blasts shook the outer walls and alarms rang across every chamber. Elias and Lysara moved to the main entrance, ready to confront the intruders. Guards followed closely, their confidence strengthened by the presence of their leaders. The first wave of boarders breached the outer doors. Elias met them head-on, using speed and skill to deflect attacks while keeping an eye on Lysara. She sensed every movement, predicting the enemy's approach and guiding him with uncanny precision. Together they were unstoppable, a human's ingenuity and courage paired with an alien's perception and wisdom. Elias struck decisively, incapacitating mercenaries without unnecessary harm. Lysara directed defensive energy, creating barriers that forced the attackers into predictable paths, allowing Elias and the guards to control the battle. Each movement reinforced their trust, each success proving that teamwork and courage could turn the tide of even the deadliest confrontation. The mercenaries regrouped for another attempt, but their morale faltered under the coordinated defense. They were skilled, but they lacked the understanding and bond shared by Elias and Lysara. Every strike they made was anticipated, every maneuver countered. The palace, once threatened with destruction, now stood as a fortress of strategy and unity. Through the intensity of battle, Lysara realized something profound. Strength was not just in power or technology. It was in trust, in courage, and in the willingness to act for others. Elias had shown that once, and now together they were proving it again. She felt a surge of pride, not just for herself or her people, but for the human who had risked everything for her, time and time again. Elias, for his part, felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was no longer just a mission. It was a reaffirmation of the bond that had defined both their lives. Every move he made was guided by trust, every action a reflection of the courage that humans could offer, even in the face of overwhelming odds. The battle reached its climax as the rogue warship attempted one final assault. Heavy energy beams struck the palace shields, causing tremors that rattled the hall. Elias and Lysara, working in perfect unison, redirected power, neutralized threats, and guided defenders to strategic positions. The palace, once at the brink of collapse, now held strong. Finally, the rogue forces were repelled. The hall was scarred, shields flickered, and guards were exhausted, but victory had been achieved. Lysara stood tall, sensing the aftermath, feeling the vibrations of the retreating enemy. Elias remained at her side, alert but calm, the bond between them stronger than ever. "You were right," Elias said, breathing heavily. "Trust and coordination. It made all the difference." Lysara smiled faintly, a mixture of relief and pride. "And courage," she added softly. "Never forget, Elias, courage is what saved us, just as it saved me before." Outside, the rogue warship retreated, its attempt to conquer Scytheria thwarted. Inside, the palace was safe, and the bond between human and queen had proven unbreakable. They had faced overwhelming odds together, relying on trust, skill, and the courage that defined both species. Lysara turned slightly toward Elias, her mind filled with gratitude and wonder. "You came back, and we succeeded," she whispered. Elias nodded, his gaze steady. "I promised, and I will keep that promise always." In that moment, the palace was more than just a fortress. It was a symbol of what could be achieved when humans and aliens worked together, when courage met trust and when loyalty guided every decision. The galaxy beyond Zetheria's skies still held danger. But inside, two allies, bound by past sacrifice and shared resolve, stood ready for whatever came next. The battle of trust had been won, and in its victory, Lysara and Elias discovered something far more powerful than shields or weapons: the strength of unity, courage, and the bonds that transcend species and time. The palace of Zetheria stood quiet after the battle. The echoes of energy beams, clashing shields, and frantic footsteps had faded into a calm hum. Outside, the rogue warship had retreated into the darkness of space, defeated but not destroyed. Inside, Queen Lysara and Captain Elias stood in the grand hall, surrounded by tired guards and the gentle hum of palace energy systems. Lysara took a deep breath, feeling the vibrations of the palace beneath her feet. The hall was still, but the air carried the memory of danger and triumph. She moved carefully toward the throne, sensing every corner, every echo, every subtle movement of the environment. Even without sight, she felt the strength and safety that now filled the palace. Elias followed closely, his eyes scanning the room and the surrounding city through the palace's holographic interfaces. He could see the damage, the lingering energy disturbances, and the retreat path of the rogue warship. Yet none of it mattered as much as the Queen herself, her presence, her courage, and the unbroken spirit that had guided both of them through peril. "Your Majesty," Elias said softly, "the palace is secure, the warship has retreated, and your people are safe." Lysara nodded, though her heart raced for a reason beyond victory. She sensed him beside her, his presence steady and reassuring. Memories of the past, of danger, trust, and unspoken promises flooded her mind. She remembered the day he had saved her from certain death, the quiet courage that had defied fear, and the unwavering loyalty that had returned now when she needed it most. "I can feel it," she said quietly. "The danger is gone, but your courage brought me through it again." Elias smiled faintly, a mixture of relief and admiration. "You always knew what to do. I just helped make sure you could." The calm of the moment was interrupted by a soft chime from the palace's medical chamber. Doctors and engineers had been preparing a revolutionary procedure, one capable of restoring Lysara's sight. The injury that had taken her vision years ago was severe, but new Zetherian technology, combined with advanced human techniques, offered hope. Lysara's fingers brushed the crystalline walls as she approached the chamber. She could feel the subtle hum of energy flowing through the room, the faint vibrations of machinery ready to perform the delicate procedure. Elias followed, standing close but giving her space. "Are you sure about this?" he asked gently. "It's advanced technology, experimental even by Zetherian standards." Lysara nodded. "I have trusted my senses, my mind, and my people for years. Now I will trust this procedure." "And I trust you." Elias offered his hand and she took it briefly, a silent acknowledgement of their bond. The medical team activated the system, and soft light surrounded her as intricate nanotechnology and energy matrices worked in harmony. The procedure would take time, but Lysara remained calm, guided by the same inner strength that had carried her through life without sight. As the process continued, Elias watched intently. He remembered the first time he had seen her, then only from memory as her sight had already been lost. Now, after years of absence, of longing, and of danger, he would see her not just through memory, but through the restored clarity of her vision. Minutes stretched like hours, and the palace remained silent except for the soft hum of the machines. Lysara focused inward, feeling the currents of energy, the vibrations, and the subtle adjustments of the technology as it healed and restored. She remembered every detail of Elias, the sound of his voice, the rhythm of his movements, the courage that had defined him. Finally, the procedure completed, and the light dimmed. Lysara's eyes fluttered, and she opened them slowly. At first, shapes were blurry, colors indistinct. Then clarity grew. She blinked, taking in the palace, the guards, the crystalline walls, and most importantly, Elias standing before her. Her eyes filled with tears, a mixture of joy, relief, and memory, finally made real. Elias met her gaze, his own eyes reflecting awe and admiration. The human who had once risked everything for her now stood fully visible, and for the first time in years she could see him clearly. "Elias," she whispered, her voice trembling. "It's really you." Elias took a step closer, his expression softening. "It's me, Your Majesty. I promised I would come back, and I did." They stood together in the grand hall, the years of separation, danger and longing dissolving into the simple truth of their reunion. Lysara's heart swelled with gratitude, not just for her sight, but for the human who had risked so much to return to her side. Outside, the rogue warship had retreated beyond Cytheria's sensors. The immediate threat was gone, but the knowledge of what humans and aliens could achieve together lingered. Lysara realized that courage, determination, and loyalty were not limited to one species. Humanity, with its resilience and ingenuity, had proven itself extraordinary, and she resolved to honor that bond. Elias spoke quietly, aware of the weight of the moment. "You can see again. It's a new beginning. For you, for your people, and for all of us." Lysara nodded, taking in the sight of the palace, her guards, and the familiar figure of the human who had changed her life. "A new beginning," she echoed. "And I will not waste it. Together we will strengthen the bonds between our people, so that courage and trust are never forgotten." They moved through the palace together, Lysara now seeing with clarity, Elias guiding and observing. She marveled at details she had only imagined before. The shimmering patterns of the crystalline walls, the intricate designs of the palace floors, and the faces of her guards, each reflecting relief and determination. The citizens of Cytheria watched from below as the palace shields stabilized and the rogue warship vanished from sight. Cheers rose softly, and though Lysara had lived without sight for years, she now saw the gratitude and hope in the eyes of her people. Her heart filled with pride, not just in herself, but in the courage and loyalty of those who had fought and returned. Elias stood by her side, watching her take in the world with new eyes. "You're amazing," he said quietly. "Always have been." Lysara smiled, feeling the warmth of human words and understanding. "And you," she replied, "have always been brave beyond measure." As the palace settled into a calm rhythm, Lysara knew the galaxy was vast, full of challenges and wonders. But now she had sight, courage, and a human ally who had proven that determination and loyalty could overcome even the darkest threats. Together they could face the universe, protect their people, and honor the bonds that had brought them together. Later, in a quiet moment, Lysara and Elias stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The twin suns of Cytheria shone brightly, casting golden reflections across the crystalline spires. Lysara reached out, her fingers brushing against Elias's hand. "Thank you," she said softly, "for everything. For coming back, for fighting, for never forgetting." Elias squeezed her hand gently. "I never could forget," he replied. "And I never will. Wherever the galaxy takes us next, you will always be worth every risk." The Queen's eyes filled with memories, not of loss, but of triumph, courage, and the bond that had transcended time and distance. She realized that humans were extraordinary, not just in skill or strength, but in heart, determination, and loyalty. Cytheria had survived because of it, and now, with her sight restored, she could see the galaxy more fully and face the future with unwavering hope. In that moment, the Palace of Cytheria was more than a home. It was a testament to courage, trust, and the enduring power of bonds between species. And at its center stood Queen Lysara, seeing again, and Captain Elias, standing by her side, a living proof that courage, loyalty, and human ingenuity could change the course of the universe. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, full of dangers and wonders yet to come. But for now, they had each other, and that was enough to face anything. Together, human and queen, they would move forward, guided by memory, courage, and trust, ready to face whatever stars might bring. The adventure had reached a triumphant pause, the bond between human and alien stronger than ever, and in the heart of the palace, two friends, one queen, one human, stood side by side, ready to shape the future of Cytheria and beyond.